Everybody, my name's Pritpal. I'm deputy head in what was the School of Art, but we're now called the School of Creative Industries. And we cover a wide range of subjects, in particular around sort of arts, media, and an element of performing arts as well. And my role as deputy in that school was that I was academic lead for our new Wolverhampton Screen School, which is a multi-million investment in new facilities, which is part of what my background was. We invested quite recently in film, TV, journalism, games, and animation. And obviously that's open for you to view at any point if you wish. What I'm going to cover is I might go off script a little bit on this because if I'm right, this is partly about your application as well, and partly around advice around applying for uni and what to look for in uni and things like that. And of course, my role is to be partly partisan towards my own place. But I think the bottom line is that what's important is that you choose a place that's right for you as well. And that is, it could be us, it could be others, but overall, you've got to choose what's right for you. I've got a daughter the same age as you, so I'll give you the same advice that I would give to her as well. Okay. I've just sort of cut and paste a little bit about what I saw for your career program, and just to explain what I'm going to do. So in terms of the first bullet point, yes, I will give you an overview of career pathways and routes to potential wide range of professions in a general way. My actual focus is around screen-based study, but I will cover art as well, and to some lesser extent performing arts, but I will cover those in some detail. I will talk in some ways about how you should think about improving your employability skills and the kind of things you should do, I think, before you apply for uni. And I will talk about what we call the portfolio review and the kind of things that we do as part of our application. And yes, I'm hoping the third bullet point is covered by this as well. I will say, if there is anything I haven't covered, I'm quite happy to cover that as part of the Q&A. Or please, if anybody needs to, Poonam or anybody else wants to just interrupt and let me know, I'm quite happy to cover what you need to. So just so you know my background, and my particular focus and my interests and the areas that I lead on. So I lead and I line manage people in these particular areas at the top. So we've got a BA in animation, we've got a degree course in computer games design, one in journalism, film and TV production, media, graphic design, illustration, public relations. Those are my main areas. So I lead on those. I oversee them, and I also line manage the staff who teach in them. So that's my particular focus, just so you know where I'm coming from, and maximum openness in terms of what I do. I oversee at the moment the courses like fine art, photography, interior and product design, fashion, textiles, glass and ceramics, digital and visual communications. Not all of those courses are open to new applicants, but most of them are. So the bottom line is I oversee a lot of these as well. The other thing I'll kind of assume today, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but the kind of thing I'll assume today is that you will take on extracurricular activities beyond what's offered as part of your course. And I mean that as part of your course that you're on now, and in terms of your degree course as well. And I think that'll come up a lot more when we talk about the application side of things. I think what's important is, and you're probably having this drilled in by your tutors as well, grades are one thing. Getting into university and getting the grades you require to get in is one thing. Making yourself into an interesting applicant and differentiating yourself in some ways is also really important as well. So, I tell my students all the time, the marketplace has got a lot of people with the grades required. Universities get a lot of people applying with the grades needed. And sometimes if we're choosing between one applicant and another, sometimes it's those extra things you do beyond your course that can single you out and can give you that extra bonus. I know you're all working really hard. I know you've got lots of homework, you've got lots of things to do, and it's hard to fit things in. But whatever you can do, whatever you can put in your application, I think is key as well. Okay, my PowerPoint is frozen. Bear with me if I just go. Oh, there we go. Okay, so The first question is, so why creative arts? Why would it be important to pursue either a degree or further study or a career in creative arts? And I think it's interesting because arts can have, and media courses can have a bad reputation sometimes. And I think in the end, what's interesting is the stats that we see here, which is that if you have a look at that website, We Are Creative, if you need to convince any of the naysayers, this is a really good site to look at. And creative jobs are growing at 3 times the UK average. 2 million people across the UK are in creative industries. And creative industries account for approximately 1 in 12 jobs, the last time we checked. And it's growing at 4 times the rate of the UK economy, and we've got strong growth in all parts of the UK. And I think this is key, really. I think it's important to get this across. Creative subjects are important. They do employ people, and you can get a strong career from them. Okay. So again, focused on what my background is and what I do. I just wanted to cover a little bit around the kind of things you might expect from a degree in any of these kind of subjects. And I can talk about the other subjects as well. But the first thing to differentiate is sometimes you will get a difference between a BA or a BSc degree. And often that's Bachelor of Arts. The majority of degrees are Bachelor of Arts. But you can get Bachelor of Science degrees as well. And the Bachelor of Science ones are probably a little bit more technical focused. Okay. So if you had, for example, a BA in computer games or computer games design, that would be very much more art based. If it's a BSc, it might be a little bit more programming based. Okay. Similar thing in animation. Although in animation, we'd expect you to understand how to use software and be good and proficient in software. If you had a BSc in it, it would be probably more about the technical side of it. It'd be more about understanding the software in a more technical way and probably a little bit of programming. It's just a broad distinction that you can have. Pretty much all of our arts courses and in our creative industry school include modules on these areas, sort of contextual, hardware, software, projects, placement, and careers. So I'll go through those very, very quickly. By contextual, I mean largely theory, okay? Every course has an element of theory, some more than others. So for example, our media course, media, film and TV studies, is very, very much theory based, okay? In some ways, it's the odd one out, okay? Because the vast majority of our courses are much more hands-on, much more practical, and much more sort of studio-based, shall we say. As part of your course, hardware will be an important thing. Using equipment, knowing how to use, a lathe, knowing how to use certain equipment within the art school, like a 3D printer and things like that, knowing how to use cameras, knowing how to use software, knowing how to use the motion capture suite. Those can be crucial as well as part of the course that you might do. Software, absolutely. Every course, every art course is getting more and more software based. And I think software and understanding how to use software is key as well. So things like the Adobe Creative Suite, which I'm sure you're aware of, and things like After Effects or anything like that can be really, really important to use. Remember that we're not expecting you to use software and understand it backwards and be technically proficient in it. As long as you know how to use it, you don't need to know how it works. So, for example, Windows operating system or Android operating system, if you've got that, you don't really need to know how it works. You don't need to program it, as long as you can work it and offer it in some way. All of our courses have a project at level 6. You'll find this is quite common. So, our fine art course will have some kind of painting or some other medium, potentially a sculpture that you'll produce as part of your final project at 3rd year. Okay. In computer games, you will create a computer game of your own. In animation, you'll usually produce a short film. And the same in film and TV production. It's the same in interior and products. You will, in these courses, you will produce something, graphic design, illustration. You'll produce something that's the culmination of your 3 years of work. Some courses offer a placement, and I would say that if you're offered a placement, it's a really, really good idea to do that. Okay, and not all courses offer this. Some courses offer it as a sandwich, which means that you do 2 years of degree, and then you get a potential of a paid placement in your third year, and then you come back to your final year of study at level 6 after that. Sometimes placements are shorter, and sometimes those placements are embedded within a certain module, and it might be really, really quite short, just a week or two or shorter. I would strongly advise any students that if you're offered a placement, really take it. All of my students who've ever done placements have gone on to do really, really well after doing the placement, and often been given work from the placement provider as well. The other thing we do is we make sure there's a sort of a careers and a kind of an entrepreneurship element to a lot of our degrees as well, because a lot of work in the area of art is going to be in freelance. You won't naturally walk into a job straight away. It takes a bit of time sometimes to build up your portfolio and your career. So we give you advice on that, how you cope with a freelance career, what it means, and how you go about that. Okay, and we give advice on that in our courses as well. A lot of universities do that. And just a bit more specific, and again, the courses I'm most familiar with, these are the kind of things in film and TV journalism that you would probably, well, I know, not probably, you would definitely cover. So in film and TV and journalism, pre-production is really, really important, understanding how you're going to plan your production, what you're going to do with it, how you'd apply it, where you'd film, who your cast is going to be, who your crew is going to be. That can be the most important thing, and often the feasibility of your work, then the feasibility of your production is determined through that sort of pre-production. So I won't go on too much about that because I'm sure you're familiar with this. The one that I think a lot of people forget about is things like law and ethics. And what I mean by that, certainly for journalism students, is you've got to be really, really clear on what you can report on and what you can't report on, because if you're not careful, you can be at full foul of defamation of character or libel and things like that. So we teach students around these issues as well to make sure they're staying completely ethical in their reporting. In gaming and animation, we will teach you about modeling in 2D and 3D. We have a particular focus on character animation because character, a lot of narratives are character led. So we'll teach you around that, which I think is really, really important to any short film you're going to make. We will introduce you to the concept of narrative development, visual development, and how to create a virtual environment. But immersion and interactivity is really, really important as well, and pacing, learning how to create a short film, especially if you're using something like stop motion animation, or if you're using drawings, understanding how to make this into a pace of a short film that's commercially viable, for example. And the final point there is around entrepreneurialism. Again, you are taught how to make a name for yourself. You are taught how you get known in the arts world, and we give you advice on that as well. I've covered a little bit of this, so I won't go into much detail. I think probably the one that I would cover, the one I haven't said yet, is the one around representation, and I think this is a really important point. I think that creative people can forget about is that you, especially in any kind of media subject, you're going to be doing representing. Okay, you're going to be representing something or representing people, and I think what's important is understand that there's a responsibility involved in representing, such as if you're going to represent a certain group in a certain way, it's important to understand what power you have as being that representer, and understanding that when you go about creating your piece of work, whatever that might be. So I won't cover much more detail around this because I've covered that partly anyway. Some of the career paths that we get, again, I'm going to get wider on this, but this is again the area that I'm familiar with. Some of the main career paths as a reporter are in journalism are as a reporter, as some kind of presenter. But public relations is an interesting one, because a lot of people who have training in journalism can also deal in public relations. And public relations is where you put a particular spin on a news story that you would present. And it's a way of managing the message that you give out to people. So public relations is a really, really important role in business, in industry, and a lot of journalist students work in that area. Social media, I'm sure you're all really familiar with, but social media crew are becoming increasingly important within business, within industry as well. In terms of film and TV, we get a lot of people who want to be directors, who are interested in being creative as a director. If I'm really honest, most of the money is in the area of producing. If you are good at producing, if you are good at finding ways of getting locations cheap, cast and crew cheap, and finding ways of keeping your production costs down, especially as money is a big thing at the moment, a good producer, can be the difference between a film getting made and not getting made at all. The other really interesting role is around distribution. Distribution used to be one particular way, and now streaming has sort of really taken over as a key thing. And the bridge between a creator and the audience now has leveled much more than ever before. So anything around streaming, anything around that kind of distribution is key as well. And yeah, I'm just thinking I'm going to run out of time if I'm not careful. But again, you'll have this PowerPoint slide. But in the end, I would say to anybody is that yeah, I'll cover a couple just to say that within animation, there are those several roles there. A concept artist is crucial for anything. So an animator can create an early visualization, or what's called a pre-visualization, for a film as well. And I've mentioned that under VFX. Anybody who texture environments and work out on layouts is really, really important within any of the film or animation worlds. And any kind of tester is crucial as well within games. I'll move on from that. What I'm going to do next is a little bit more about transferable skills. And I think it's important to get across that anything arts or screen-based media or performance, the skills you gain are not just confined to those professions, okay? And the other thing to get across is a lot of students, at one stage, 50% of students found employment in areas other than their focus of study, okay? So what I want to cover next is a little bit more around some of the transferable skills. And I'd say the main one is being able to be original and having some sort of creativity as well. Originality is so important. Whenever I speak to industry, and we do have an industry advisory board that speaks to us and tells us, gives us advice on what we should do with our curriculum and how we should engage with industry. And by and large, the majority of what they're interested in is students who've got good ideas. Okay, students who've got good ideas, who can think outside the box, and people who are confident in being able to communicate and express this is really key as well. So number one, if you can think outside the box and have original creative ideas, but you're able to communicate them, that's the gold dust that industry requires. Okay, so creativity and originality is one of the most important transferable skills. Sorry about the small writing here, but hopefully it's okay. Being able to see things from multiple perspectives is really, really, really important. And I think having a single perspective takes you so far, but being able to see, accept and take critique from your peers, from your the staff that teach you, who will give you advice on how to make things better, and seeing your work and seeing what you do from the point of view of others is really, really, really important. And being able to take that without feeling criticized is really, really important. And we teach you that skill when you work on what we call group crits. Group crits are when your peers will look at a sample of your work and give you advice on it. Entrepreneurialism and perseverance are kind of two really, but I've put them together because, as I said right at the beginning, at the final point there, making art pay, anything art related, it's not going to happen overnight. Okay, it really doesn't. It can, it absolutely can and does, but it doesn't happen overnight. But what most courses will do is give you advice and support for monetizing your art, how you get it out there, how you get to exhibitions, how you make yourself available to casting organizations, and I think being able to uh, well being able to understand what your place is, and being able to understand how to apply that to looking for work afterwards is something which is really really crucial to the degrees that we offer. um, Leadership and project management, which you might not expect, is important transferable skill from an arts-based or performance or a screen-based course. Um, every course that we offer has at the end of their 3 years something that we call a degree show. And in a degree show, students basically create their own exhibition of the work that they've produced. So it's normally in June after the students have finished all of their work. We spend a couple of weeks creating the degree show. Within that, it becomes an exhibition where students learn how to make their work outwardly facing. We have launch nights. We have we have lots of external guests come in, including the press, and they walk around and have a look at our art building and have a look at show reels of student work. They get to play the games students have made. They watch the animations. They look at the interior and the product designs. They look at the graphic design, the illustration, the paintings, and managing that kind of launch event can be key as well. So if anybody's involved in any kind of film festival, being able to project manage that, getting that off the ground is really, really key. Those organizational skills and project management skills are key as well. Probably the most important one, because you do it regularly on a lot of our courses, is that we have what's called live briefs. And this is where somebody from an external industry, so say from a magazine, will come in and talk to our students and say, we are looking for a student to do this kind of magazine cover. Can you get your photography students to work to our brief and create something we're looking for? And often our students get offers of extra work from that. So if ever you're offered anything like a live brief, work really, really hard at that, because that is a real world application of your skills, and it's a brilliant thing to put on your CV as well. Budgeting is key. Budgeting was always key. I think it's become even more important now. So the best example I can give for this is, you need to find cheap materials, but good quality materials at little cost to be able to do your exhibition, to be able to launch your film, to be able to create your game. But being organized for maximum efficiency is key as well. Locating resources, getting them in time takes a lot of organization as well. And I've said there at the end exactly. So producing a short film requires considerable budgeting skills as well. So the final thing I'm going to cover before we move on to your sort of personal statements and advice on applications is something called a portfolio review. And what a portfolio review is it's a little bit like an interview. So if you apply for some arts-based courses, certainly in ours, we'll invite you to something called a portfolio review. And within that, what you'll do, you'll come and pay us a visit, you'll come and have a look around, you'll see what we do, and you'll bring a sample of your work with you. And what we like from that, I think I've got it on the next slide. Yeah, here we go. Sorry. Yeah. So you'll be asked to attend a portfolio review. It's a very informal meeting, and it's a chat to see samples of your work and any extracurricular activities that you've done. This can include partly some of the work you've done during your studies, but more importantly, it should be some of the stuff that you've done outside of your work time that you take a personal interest in. So, if you're in a band, or if you do any sort of creative writing outside of your degree, if you've got any particular ability in drawing or performance. All of these kind of things make you into a much more interesting applicant. Okay. And I know, as I said before, I know you're all busy and I know that you have a lot of work to do. But if you can find ways of doing anything outside of your curriculum, anything that's interesting, anything that interests you, when I see, and I know that my staff say that when they're looking at portfolio reviews, they're looking for passion from the subject, from the course. Start again. They're looking for passion from the student. So it's about your interests, your passion, and your abilities, and that is what a lot of my colleagues look for when they do portfolio reviews. The other useful thing about portfolio review is that you can use that as an opportunity to ask a lot of questions about the course and about the studies before you make your final choice, because you will probably be looking at open days at a few different universities and will have a number that you want to apply to. And I mean, without going too much off topic here, I would advise you to go to as many open days as you can. But I would also say to you, make sure you visit the university on a day it's not an open day, and have a look around where you can. And you won't be able to access everything, but everybody does the best they can on an open day, but you want to get a feel for the place. You're going to spend 3 years there if you're there full time. So just make sure it's got the right feel for you, that you like the town where it is. It may be that public transport's important to you. It may be that a nearby shopping complex is important to you. It might be that you prefer a much more rural setting. And I think these are the reasons why I would choose. Sorry, going slightly off topic, but I would say it's really important to have a good look around. So what makes a good portfolio review? As a collection of your work when you're looking at applying. Pick out your strongest work and your activity. What we're looking for is interesting, creative and technical abilities rather than the quantity of work. So you've heard the phrase before, it's about quality, not quantity. Okay, so I'm going to hurry up now because I'm running out of time. Include examples of different projects, but most importantly, be prepared to talk through them. Talk a bit more about why you took the project on, why it was important to you, and so on. The portfolio should be well organized, presented and signposted. If it's a collection of drawings, make sure you have an index there and say a little bit about context about what each one is. If it's a show reel, make sure it's introduced properly, that it's got titles, and the explanation at the beginning. If it's anything else, again, remember that these people haven't seen it before, so it's really, really good to give it a lot of context when you present it. If you include photographs, make sure they're very, very well lit, and make sure everything's very, very clear within them. And once again, we're looking for passion. We're looking for people who are interested, people with some creativity, and enthusiasm is so, so important. Here's some direct quotes from what my colleagues have said, and I've just put in bold the key things here. I look for students with something to say. Okay, I want them to be able to talk about what they did, what they learned, and what they think they want to explore, say, regarding film. This is very much film based for the first two. A selection of very short clips, but the other thing to say is within the interview itself and the portfolio review, there'd only be time to watch about 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the very most, because a lot of the time is discussion. So don't try and give too much. Try and give a small amount, which is nice and focused. If you're asked to give an electronic portfolio, you can present it as a blog, a YouTube channel, or a PowerPoint, and we do have electronic portfolio reviews as well, which can be done at a distance. But the best ones are the ones in person, because you get to see the facilities as well. The most important thing about the portfolio review is that it prompts a discussion. Okay, and it helps us talk more, learn more about you, and you learn more about us. And I think I've done that. I was going to do it in 25 minutes. I've done it in half an hour, so I've gone over slightly. The next part is going to be Poonam looking at, but I don't know what you want to do, whether anybody wants to ask any questions now or we leave until the end.
shall we leave them to the end, Pipal, and we'll carry on, and then students can formulate their things and put those in the chat in the meantime. That would be brilliant.
Course.
Thank you.
Do you want me to keep the PowerPoint on, Poonam? Shall I put it back on? You're on mute.
Yes, that will be fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, right. What I'll do, 1 second. I'll start it
you
again.
Okay, that's fine. I have got it on here as well. I can share it.
Do you want to do that, and then you can advance the slides?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll get it wrong. Yeah.
Okay. So can you all see that?
Yes, that's excellent. Thank you, Poonam.
Okay, right, brilliant. 1 second. Okay, so hello everybody. So my name is Poonam Sangre, and I'm today going to be talking about how to write a personal statement. So first of all, thank you, Pritpal, for that amazing presentation for the Faculty of Arts, Business and Social Sciences. I also work in the Faculty of Arts, Business and Social Sciences. So in fact, today we had an amazing tour of the Screen School. So it was really good. So today's session now is about how do you write a personal statement, okay? We have a QR code there if you want to kind of register your details, and the QR code will be throughout the slide, so do add your details in if you want to. So first of all, what we're going to be talking about, why do we write a personal statement? What is the sole purpose of writing a personal statement? So what I like to say to students is that it's your opportunity to stand out from the crowd. So it's often a deciding factor on whether you are made a decision or not. So if you are applying to, say, for example, a degree in animation or journalism, you want to showcase your passion for that subject. You want to showcase that you are highlighting your transferable skills. You understand that, this is that deciding factor. And what I like to say to students is there's no way to be humble in that personal statement. It's a way to really state that I can do this. I've done that with given examples. We'd like to say that do include kind of any work experience that you have. So if you want to kind of work in journalism, I'm sure there may be some type of work experience that you can find that can help you align your kind of skills to journalism or animation or games design or other courses that you may have an interest in. So we'd like for you to kind of really talk about that. It's the only kind of statement where part of your UCAS application that's not computer generated. And what we mean by that is that when you do your UCAS application, you will write it on computer, so it'll be in stages. But the personal statement, we like to say to kind of go away from that computer generation and write this in Word and then copy and paste it into this application. So you're not just kind of, about like kind of spelling and grammar errors and things like that. So the other thing is that if your course requires for you to have an interview, they may formulate questions from that personal statement. So if you have stated in your personal statement, oh, I did this work experience, or I went here and I did this, the interviewer may say, oh, okay, you said this in your personal statement. Can you elaborate on that? So what I like to say to students here is always be truthful, always be honest in your personal statement as well. So when we look at what should be included, what should be included is why are you applying for the course? So this is really, really key. And I like to say this in all my sessions is that why are you applying? So if you are applying to say multimedia journalism, what is that sole purpose? You can mind map this as well. So when I did my master's in education, there's a whole theory on mind mapping. And, you can just mind map, oh, why do I actually want to do this? And what is your true kind of like, what's that passion inside you that's saying, I want to study journalism or animation or games design or anything in the creative art industry as well. First of all, and also, what are your future career plans? So I know I talked about like all these amazing careers that you can go into and how, um, it may not be so clear at the beginning, but then as you go on and as you evolve and as you make those links and network with people, you can really build a kind of successful career for yourself and build that kind of dream job that we all kind of want to do. The other thing is what makes you a suitable candidate. So, like I said, there's no place to be humble in your personal statement. What are your skills, your achievements, and why, again, how are they relevant to what you want to study? So, for example, in A levels, are you kind of studying something that aligns to what you want to study at degree level? So, there's that link being made. Other thing I like to talk about is your hobbies and interests and what you enjoy as well. So, you want to do this for the rest of your life, so it's something that you actually thoroughly enjoy, and you thoroughly want to wake up every morning and say, yes, I'm going to go to my job now, or this is what I'm going to do, or I have this seminar, or I'm creating this today. And think about your skills and experience that are most relevant as well. So your qualifications, like I said. So for example, you know that when you are going to go on to kind of higher education, you need your UCAS points um, and obviously your A levels or BTEC and whatever you are studying. The other thing is, like I said, link your experiences and skills to the actual course as well, which leads us on to who is going to read your statement. So it's people like admissions teams, admissions tutors, lecturers, or Pritpal may be reading your personal statement as well. So again, who teach on the course. So when they are reading through these statements, they want to feel kind of engaged. They want to feel, wow, this person has done this. So as a side example, I went to a college and I was reading some personal statements, and I was reading a few, and I realized that the introduction is really important because it allowed me to actually think, oh wow, this sounds interesting. I want to further read on. And for others, it wasn't the same experience that I had. So think about how are you going to engage that reader. So what are the leads us on to our next point is what are they looking for when you're reading this personal statement? So they are looking for the right academic grades. So your qualifications, like I said, those UCAS points, a concise, well written personal statement without spelling mistakes. And the reason why this is highlighted is because we do not want to have a kind of statement that is full of spelling mistakes, because that just shows that this person has not carefully taken out the time to actually write a great statement. And the other thing to do with this is sometimes you should print it out and read your statement out loud, because sometimes that can help you formulate your sentence structure, your spelling mistakes, your grammar. The other thing that I love this point, is awareness of the course that you are studying. Sometimes you may think, oh, actually, I'm going to look at the prospectus and I'm going to study multimedia journalism. But you actually do not know what is actually being taught in that course. So that's just the overall general title, or film, TV, or media, film, and television. But actually, if you break it down, and on our website, you will have like kind of that course structure, what is actually taught in semester one. So semester one will be kind of your kind of like it's part of your year. So semester one is broken into two parts, semester one and semester two. And in semester one, you'll do modules, and so you will do modules in semester two. So what is actually being taught in each year? Will you be taking a foundation year? So think about that as well. And the next point is enthusiasm and commitment to the course and your career path. So people that are going into the creative industries, they have that enthusiasm for it. They have that commitment, and sometimes it will get hard, like we said at the beginning, finding your way or finding your path in creative industry. It can be difficult, but if you are enthusiastic, if you believe in yourself as well, and you have that commitment, you can make that career for yourself. And there's so many successful artists. Today we had a screen school tour, and we had a presentation by the head of art today, and there was some very, very kind of successful alumni students speaking about how, what course and what career path they have gone into. The other point is a positive reference from your tutor or the place you work in. So for example, that your kind of teachers, your careers advisors, and those positive working key relationships. So I am conscious of time, so I will run through these very quickly, because I know that we're going to have a Q&A at the end as well. So how do you actually structure that personal statement? Why, how, and why is it so important to structure it in a way that it's readable as well? So they like to say, and you may have heard this, is to keep your opening statement and write it at the end. Now, if this doesn't work for you, then and you want to write it at the beginning, that's absolutely fine. But they do say that don't get stuck and save it till last. So this is what I like to say is that in the first paragraph, you want to grab the attention of the reader. Like I said, I have read some personal statements, and the first part, if I feel connected to that first paragraph, some people might talk about, oh, how, you know, their kind of previous um, like kind of desire to study this course and what inspired them. And we'll just go throughout the slides. We'll have a look at kind of really some good examples as well. So again, grabbing that reader's attention. So some statements use things like, I'm currently studying a BTEC professional diploma. From a young age, I've always been interested in, and things like that can help you start your statement. So these are some good examples, and I really like these examples. So I'm just going to read just two very, very quickly. So my childhood unleashed a desire to know how things work and why things happened This soon flourished into a more specific interest in science and later biochemistry. Now, this statement is good because it's the way it is written. So, for example, they talk about their childhood. They talk about that it's unleashed a desire from a very young age, and now they are going to kind of, they have this specific interest in biochemistry. So they've linked it to their childhood. My favourite one is the second one. So, my work experience with the Crown Prosecution Service reinforced my enthusiasm for a career in law. I had the opportunity to shadow administrators, solicitors, and office clerks, observing critical procedures at every level, from casework and preparation all the way to litigation in the Crown Courts. Now, the reason why I like this is because when you're reading this, you're thinking, this person has gone out their way to go and get some work experience in the Crown Prosecution Service. And they've worked alongside solicitors, they've worked alongside a lot office clerks. So they've got that first-hand experience. And as a person reading this, so if I was a lecturer on a law course, for example, that would really inspire me, that thinking, wow, this person has already got that experience, so they kind of know, and they know what they want to kind of study, they know their career path, and so it shows that enthusiasm. So things that we need in your personal statement are things like well organized, and Pritpal spoke about being organized as well, problem solving, um, being analytical, research, presentation, meeting deadlines. So you might have a deadline um, that you have to meet, and we want to see how have you met that. Working independently. So in animation, for example, say for example you are wanting to do an animation degree, you might have individual tasks that you need to work on. You might have to develop your skills in software, for example, and for that you need practice. You need to develop that kind of, and in creative arts, you develop that practice as you go along. It's a lot of it is hands-on. Group work, you might be working in groups. So things like idea generating, creativeness, and creativeness comes through ideas as well. Social media, for example. So these are really, really important skills. The other thing is quickly, do not list your qualifications in your personal statement. So don't say, oh, I have a GCSE in maths, English, because all that is in the UCAS application itself. Personal statement is absolutely different from that as well. So we're not saying to list your qualifications in that. So work experience is not essential to kind of for your course requirement, but it is good to have some. So if you do have some work experience, do state that in your application. The other thing is we've got hobbies and interests, so make sure you link your hobbies and interests into your kind of personal statement. So, for example, if you enjoy running, or if you enjoy drama, if you enjoy, or if you're part of a youth club, or if you go to a football club, that shows teamwork, confidence. You might lead the football club, increase fitness. So, include your hobbies and interests. You might play music, for example. You might be part of a community, so do include your hobbies and interests as well. Um, this is just quickly. So again, if you are applying for a health related course, then please, please, please do look at the NHS core values. So the idea of care, compassion, courage, communication, commitment, and competence. I know this is an arts kind of webinar, but again, if you are looking into the health side of things, then do your research in that. The second the last part of the paragraph is the concluding paragraph. So we look at your conclusion. Now, your conclusion shouldn't be, it's just a summary of your main points. We don't want kind of anything new in here. And what we're saying is that to finish on a positive note for your concluding paragraph. So you may want to say something about your future goals, your ambitions, your dreams. An example could be, I have enjoyed my time at, so you could say, I've enjoyed my time at King Edward's, and I look forward to the challenge of studying for a degree and developing my own independence by attending higher education or by attending university, and you're looking forward to it as well. So just quickly, we're going to go through just one of a bad example quickly. So this is a bad example of a kind of personal statement, and I'm just going to quickly go through it. I want to be a photographer because I love taking selfies. I enjoy seeing people smile, and I'm always looking for a good place to take a photo. I like the idea of going to different places and meeting new people. I'm always taking photos of random people in my area, and I don't have a camera. Now, just very quickly, we know by reading that it's not very good because there's spelling mistakes. The sentence structure is not great, and the examples they have used are not very authentic, and they're not very academic as well, and they're not something that we would expect from a university student applying for a higher education course. But again, a lot of this is again practice as well. Writing is important. So again, your sentence and grammar structure is also very important. So again, a good example would be something like this. My aspiration to study law comes from an appreciation I had of the subject stemming from my father's current and previous businesses. My involvement consisted of secretarial work, which allowed me an insight into how law is practiced in a business environment. From this statement, we can really understand, first of all, the words, the language, the sentence structure is great. There's no spelling mistakes. They've used examples from their father's business, so they've got that inspiration there. They've even had some work experience, so they have that insight into law. So you can see automatically, you can see, wow, this is a great kind of start to a personal statement. Okay. So what we say is do not forget to say why you want to study the course in the opening lines. So again, remember your why, okay? Why do you want to do this in the first place? And that's starting anything as well. Always remember your why. And if you don't know your why, find out, and it's really important. Refer to your current studies. What do you enjoy, and why do you enjoy that? Show your statement to other people. So maybe get your teacher to read it, or your current or your careers advisor, or even sometimes show it to your parents or your guardians. Talk about your work experience. Make sure you check your spelling and grammar. Make sure it has a concluding paragraph as well, and also obviously know your limits. So 47 lines of 4,000 characters. And we do say don't start every sentence with I as well. Find alternative ways of kind of articulating your keywords or your sentences. Where can you find more information? So we've got UCAS HE fairs. So part of my role is to go out to these UCAS higher education fairs, and there's some in Birmingham, Manchester, all around kind of the UK. These are really, really great for further advice. Sometimes your school may have these UCAS fairs as well. Join us on social media as well. You have your careers advisors. Our website is also good. The student room. And Aspire to HE as well. And we always say hashtag join the pack. We also have something called a uni buddy. So it's a safe environment here where you can speak to current students studying your course. And I think in the creative arts industry, this will work really well. So if you are wanting to study animation, or if you are wanting to study film, TV, and media studies, sometimes speaking to somebody that is already a student, that is already studying that course, is going to be such a valuable um, experience for yourself. You will gain so much, and you'll gain an insight into what is it like studying a course. How are you assessed? For example, are you assessed through portfolio work? Is it exams? Is it presentations? And what is the whole course about? And that gives you first-hand experience. The next thing that we say is what is next. So what we say is do attend an open day, because when you come to an open day, you get to speak to lecturers like people like Pritpal, or our head of art as well. Maggie, for example, she will be there, and you'll gain that insight, and you'll speak to um, kind of lecturers that are teaching on the course, and you'll get a feel for the university, what it's like. We also have discovery days of things like discover art, or discover kind of green school kind of a discovery day. So your school can come in and have a look at our facilities. And if you are kind of wanting to do that, please do just email myself or Pritpal, and we can get that organised for you. We have many how-to webinars, and again, like I said, Unibuddy is a system where you can speak to current students. And what we're going to go on to next is any questions. And our next open day is on the 17th of June. 2023, and that is our website as well. We do say, I love to end my kind of presentation with this, is that we are the University of Opportunity, and we have also a new kind of slogan, which is be who you want to be. And like I say, if you want to be a director, if you want to be a producer or a journalist, you can do that. So it's all about believing in yourself and really having those opportunities to do that as well. So that is the end of my slide. So if I stop sharing, and now it kind of leads us on to any questions that we may have from students or teachers, and we can always kind of relate that back to you guys as well.
Thank you very much indeed, Pritpal and Ping. That's been so comprehensive. We've been really inspired, I think, about the range of courses, certainly that have fall within the arts, as it were. And I know Faye and myself have visited the University of Wolverhampton on an advisors' day. And students, I would really, really encourage you to go to an open day or to one of the discovery days and really immerse yourself in some of those wonderful courses and talk to students and staff, because certainly I think the enthusiasm comes across. And actually I think it's one of those places where you suddenly discover actually a whole range of courses that you didn't even know existed. So that's really great. I have got, while students, Faye's putting some things in the chat with links for students. But I would also ask any students to put something in the chat if you have anything at all that you'd like to ask. One of the pre-questions that was asked was one of our students would like to know more about careers in graphic design and more about the routes towards becoming a graphic designer, and maybe some different fields. I wonder if, Pritpal, you've got anything that you could add for that, please?
Yeah, so in terms of, what was the question again? Routes into graphic design?
Careers in graphic design and routes into it, really, I guess.
Yeah, there are absolutely loads. I mean, the thing is that you can work in business. I mean, it's something that you can work in. You can work in graphics, you can work in advertising. Advertising is a key outcome for it. Anything business focused. Motion graphics can be really key as well, and that's where it overlaps partly with animation. But anything client facing, anything business facing, graphic design students are there to listen to what a client brief is, understand what they're looking for, and create something for that in terms of what the graphics. Sorry, start again. In terms of what the client's looking for. It's massive. If I'm really honest, it's massive. Some graphic designers go on to become directors as well. It really is a wide range of things, and it's coming back to that point about 50% of graduates going to something that's beyond what their degree is. I've just seen a question in the chat here as well. Okay, what's creative industries? Do you want me to address that one as well?
Yes, please, if you
Yeah,
would.
so creative industries are a variety of things. So it's basically any kind of, if we talk about an industry that's creative based, it's any industry that has a product or some artifact that's creative in focus. So it's music, it can be performance, it can be acting, it can be anything around art, it can be design, and it can be anything from glass making to product design as well. How will you help in your future aspirations? So the subjects I've covered partly there. In your future aspirations, I think that's really down to what you're looking for or what direction you want to go in. Okay, so if you are interested in something around musical theatre, if you are interested in something specifically, in illustration, if you want to be an illustrator for some kind of, a publishing role, if you want to be a fine artist, if you want to be an animator, it is really about what aspirations you're looking for. So the answer back to that would be, is what particular focus have you got? What do you want to do? And there's bound to be a creative sort of a degree or an outcome or some kind of course that you can do around that.
That's really helpful, thank you. And one of the things that we talk to students about, and many of our business students who are business and who might be doing a business A level will understand this. The unique selling point, the USP that students have is so important. Going back to what Poonam said about, in your personal statement, and you said about finding in your portfolios and things. It's about really thinking through what is your unique selling point as an individual, where do you have your aspirations, and I guess really looking for a course and a career pathway to express that sort of unique selling point.
Yeah, exactly. A good course is going to help you be, you 2.0. This is the whole point. Yeah, you're going to go in, you're probably not going to be 100% sure about what you want to do. A lot of a good course will help you orient yourself at level 4, understand a bit more about what you want to do. You'll start to specialize more at level 5 and level 6, and by the time you get to the end of level 6, you'll be much clearer about what you want to do, what your aspirations are. Even if you're unsure at the beginning, we help you think about that, and a good course will help you achieve that and help you specialize in the area you want to go to. And that's where masters, if you're interested in those, can get more specialized if you wish to later. But yeah, I think a good course will help you tackle those things. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do when I began my degree. I'm not even 100% sure now, but overall, the degree really helped me think about things in a different way, and it introduced me to concepts and ideas that I would never have touched on before. And I absolutely loved my degree. I wasn't that keen on school, if I'm honest, and beyond. But once I got to my degree, it literally pushed every button for me, and I loved every second of it. So,
I think as well, for students thinking forward from their degree onwards into a career path, it is amazing how the doors are opened during the time in your degree, and especially I think the encouragement to take up a placement year, whether that's in the UK or abroad, but certainly a placement year. It's something I think we all feel as teachers, and certainly from a careers advisor point of view, that actually that grounding of an academic study within the field of work allows a much more focused sort of future, to be really possible to have those skills in work as well as an academic sort of skill. It's a good combination.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing is, again, a good course will open you up to opportunities and it'll nurture you in certain ways. But there comes a point where also you've got to work quite independently as well. A degree, you start to get more independent, and you've got to think more about what your focus is. And in the end, where you'll differentiate yourself as a graduate is where you take on those extracurricular things, you think about things and what your specialism is as you go along, and that in the end is what will get you what you're looking for. So, you know, as you get older and do sort of different things in your courses, and as you progress through a degree, you will definitely start thinking more independently, and that's what will be important for your future career.
Absolutely. And I think just sort of thinking, drawing this to a close, that some of the things that you talked about, Poonam, about going into your personal statement, you know, those key skills from any work experience, which we really advocate, you know, are transferable into these skills, and I think into these subjects. And I think that working independently, then, you know, expressing that in a particular way to the audience, as you said, who is reading the personal statement, that's really
definitely. It's also having that enthusiasm for your course, and you know, you really wanting to actually study that course, and it's definitely needed in that, I do believe, in the creative industry as well. And like we're saying about kind of researching your course as well, so it's fine to know, yes, this is animation, but actually what is actually taught in animation, and how does it develop yourself, and how are you going to, in your third year, you know, develop that kind of critical thinking, that critical analysis. And our university is a very supportive university as well. And you know, we are there to always kind of help and support and guide, but then we also give you that independence where you have to think for yourself and think creatively as well.
And I just had one thing just quickly. I mean, that thing about checking the spelling mistakes, reading it out loud, really crucial, I think. And I would say ask a critical friend to read it. Sometimes family will want to give you encouragement and they won't tell you, you know, what's wrong with it. So I think it's better to get a critical friend to say, oh, I'm not sure about this. This bit doesn't make sense. It's probably better to write it that way. That's really important. And also sometimes it can be awkward to kind of show off. And you said it was no time to be humble, Poonam. And I'd say you've got to show off. You've got to get over that awkwardness. You've got to show off.
So you are the best person for that course. Just have that in your mind.
It's really important. It's really important. And apologies about anything. I only came back to work on Monday. I've had COVID, so I've still got COVID brain. So apologies if I went off tangents on anything. It's just I've still got brain fog.
I think everything that you said was interesting. We've had, you know, very much so. And we will be showing this recording, because actually I think both sections that students have seen tonight are extremely useful. Thank you.
Brilliant.
There has been one late question. I don't know if we can just very quickly say, you've mentioned about film journalism, etc., but what about textiles industry and art, and the availability of those? If we can just do that very quickly, and then we'll wrap out.
Apologies. So unfortunately, textiles didn't recruit the way we wanted it to. Unfortunately, it's been deleted from the program. So we've still got students on it, but we're not taking new students in fashion and textiles. So apologies for that. It's one of those. Unfortunately, we don't take any more. But interior and product also isn't available. Neither is glass and ceramics, but all of the other ones mentioned. So photography, fine art. I'm going to go through the list. Photography, fine art, beyond what's already mentioned. Graphic design, illustration, they're all fully available and thriving at the moment. So
that's wonderful. And as this is obviously we're talking about the University of Wolverhampton, and we'd like very much students to go and have a look at Wolverhampton. But as you said and prefaced your comments at the beginning, you know, it's important that students look at all courses everywhere that they're interested in. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much to both of you for a really great presentation, and thank you students for attending this evening too. We will be circulating the recording, and thank you very much for the University of Wolverhampton connections that we are making and make in the future. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.